Hey, it's Software Student here, and today I'm going to continue my web development series, where today we're going to be talking about HTML forms. So the form tag is a tag we would surround some kind of inputs, and we can then take these inputs and send them somewhere else and use them. So basically, I already created a basic HTML document, which contains a form element with some labels and a few inputs. So I have some text input and some number inputs. Let me just showcase. So it just simply looks like this. Name, age, and a submit button. So we have my form. We then have an action. So what are we doing with this form? In this case, we are sending, or we're defining with a method, we are posting. So we're posting our data to another web page, in this case, dash action.php. And we're not talking about PHP yet, but just simply sending our data to a PHP class file makes it quite a bit easier for us to actually see what's happening with the data. But don't think too much about this, but just know we're posting our data somewhere. In this case, we're posting it to the website with the URL -action.php. So it doesn't exist, so we're going to get an error, but we're still able to see that we're sending the data. So we have a label, just saying this is the name, then have an input field, taking the input of text as a name value, name, and I just have a beginning value just for the sake of it. So the value to start the page would be Steve, for example. Then have the age label and another input field, taking the type of number. This input field have a name as well and a beginning value as well. And then at the end have a input type submit, which is the value submit. We could also just have a button with the type submit, which would work the exact same. But let me showcase what I actually mean by saying we are posting data to action.php. So you should have a basic understanding of some web development where we are sending, so we're technically making an HTTP request where we are sending some data. So in this case, I'm having my Steve and my age, and then submitting it. As you can see up here, we are then being transferred to our IP. We're hosting a local host at port 5500 class action.php. As you can see, this page doesn't exist because we're trying to load something that isn't created, but we can use the Google Chrome. So we can right click and click inspect, which gives us this dev tool where we can see some basic information about our web pages. And what we're looking at today is under network. And we just need to reload the site, Control R. We can actually see all the information that's been sent or this web page have when we start the web page. So you can actually see down here, we have our action.php document has been sent, and it's red because we're getting a lot of errors because it doesn't exist. But what's very interesting when we look under network or action.php and under headers, which kind of like the information of this web page, we can then scroll down and look at our form data, where you can see that the data that has been transferred to this action.php website page is the name Steve and age 89. So if we went back to our home.html, and let's change the name to, instead of Steve, Leah, for example, and let's say she's not that old, she's only 25, and when we now submit, and then again look at our action.php, and under our headers, our form data, we now send the data, Leah and age 25. So in this case, we can just simply, relatively simply, when working together with some PHP, for example, send some data through our form with the method post and then posting our data somewhere else, where in this case, the next page would have the name and the age. We could then, for example, take this data and put it inside a database or just showcase it on the next web page or whatever. But that's the basic usability of our form. Have some kind of input fields where, also something that's quite important, these input fields need a name that defines like what's the name of the variable we're sending, because if we don't have a name on the input, the data wouldn't be sent. So for example, if I added another input called text, save, and we go back here, I will then update the page. But inside this one, just put some random stuff and then submit it. You can see that we still only get Steve and the age, the name and age. We don't get the nether a new text field because we didn't add a name variable. But this is the basic of the form, or we can create some input fields, get some data, and submit our data to some web page. But for now, just try to get this basic understanding. Later on, we might use these to take some kind of input from the user. But this was all I want to showcase now about the form inside HTML. So if you enjoyed this little quick showcase, please leave a like and subscribe, and I wish you all a wonderful